Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. So today I'm doing a bit of a, for these last few videos that I'll be putting up before the Tomb Kings come out, doing a bit of a video dump essentially because there were bunch of videos I wanted to cast and didn't quite get around to doing, and so a few of them I'm going to be putting up today, and obviously in the upcoming days it's probably all going to be about Tomb Kings with maybe a little bit of Tretch here and there, or so. That's really where the focus is probably going to be, and so I wanted to put out these last few videos, and just so you guys can enjoy them, and hopefully have some fun with some of these matchups. And obviously, some of these matchups are compositions that are some you've already seen before, but nonetheless, figured I might as well put them up and just so you guys have a little bit of fun. So this one is once again Empire against Elves, a matchup I've definitely had a lot of fun with, and kind of got a bit of I think foolproof build here. But regardless, I did make a huge mistake in this game, and I brought Boris and completely forgot to put. I don't save any of my builds really, and so I forgot to put the Reichland or the Midland Runefang and the Midland Runefang and the White Cloak of Ulrich on him. So no debuffs and no regen for Boris in this game, which is definitely a huge issue and definitely something I made a huge mistake with right off the bat. Regardless, the rest of the build is pretty standard, bog standard fare. Grey Wizard with Power Stone, Penumbral Pendulum, as well as the debuff with the not the Withering, the Enfeebling Foe. Empire Captain to stiffen up the front line and help my greatswords do better. Whole bunch of veteran upgrade swords, 5 of them as usual, the usual affair. Stirland's Revenge. Usual psychological immunity, stalk, armor piercing, fairly short range, but nonetheless decent melee combatants, and definitely no pushovers. Silver bullets, stalk, armor piercing, magic damage. These guys are really strong against most Wood Elf units. And then finally, here in the back, we do have the Royal Altar of Griffites, just to shut down enemy large units. For my opponent, he did decide to do a slightly interesting build in some ways. He did bring a Tyrannok Chariot, which you don't see very often. It does actually outrange all of my shooting. It has 165 range, good amounts of ammo, though obviously there's only 3 of them, but it does shoot fairly quickly, does do decent amounts of missile damage, but it's very pitifully armored, definitely very squishy, so we'll see how it holds up here. For my opponent's front line, it is a whole bunch of White Lines of Crace. You can see, I do believe it's 6 units of them actually. Yeah, he maxed out on White Lines of Crace, and he's actually staggered his formation out a whole bunch. He spread it out, and this way it's going to be very hard for me to kind of easily wrap up his troops and get rid of them quickly. He does have 2 Eagle Claw bolt throwers, just already picking off models on my great swords. Actually not doing grape shot mode right now, just doing the usual single shot, which is actually pretty potent in some ways, because great swords are obviously a fairly expensive unit here, and definitely every model counts. For the second line, he also does have 3 units of Lothran Seaguard, who will be doing some nasty work if they spot my shooting, and with their focus fire, they can actually do some damage to greatswords as well. They actually, interestingly enough, Lothran Seaguard, despite having the same missile damage as archers, actually have 1 more armor piercing damage. They have 15 and 4 rather than 16 and 3. Techless for his lord. Once again, a little bit of an interesting choice. Techless is well, not really an interesting choice, but what is a little bit interesting, I think, is the amount of different spells my opponent brought. He actually brought 4 of his different spells. Obviously, also Fiery Convocation and the Potion of Shiroi, and of course some of the debuffs. Weirdly enough, he brought Kindle Flame, which I think is kind of useless, given that he doesn't have anything doing fire damage to synergize with. But nonetheless, pretty solid overall. And I do believe my opponent had 1 other unit of Dragon Princes here in the back. Dragon Princes, I think, are a bit of a risky pick against Empire, given that Empire can trash them very soundly with the usage of Demigryphs. Regardless, you can see my greatswords are not having a good day, losing model after model here, and now they are coming under withering fire from the Tyrannok Chariots. However, I'm going to have none of it, and shortly the Stirland's Revenge as well as the Silver Bullets will be within range of these guys, and they will be able to lay the smack down these Tyrannok Chariots, and my opponent hasn't really spotted them until at all right now. You can see I'm being a bit gutsy here with Boris, thinking I can get away with it, and not realizing, at least at this point, that I actually forgot to bring the Midland Runefang. So huge mistake there. You can see the Royal Griffites here taking some damage, but now the Stirland's Revenge is starting to tee off on the Tyrannok Chariots, as are the Silver Bullets, and you can see these chariots are not going to last very long at all. They don't have much armor to begin with, so even if I brought crossbows, they wouldn't do well. And you can see one of them actually does. They do already lose a model. They are wavering and getting close to wavering and in deep trouble. Here my opponent is casting a Vortex spell, Chain Lightning, and I do see it at the last second, so my greatswords start pulling away, and that definitely saves at least a few models there. And the Grey Wizard is slowly but surely making his way forward. You can see I do plow straight in with Boris Stodbringer and get a nice little Penumbral Pendulum here on this line of White Lines of Crace. And honestly, the Penumbral Pendulum is really getting against High Elves, simply because of the fact that it drops their HP a whole bunch, and it can potentially help you get them below that threshold for martial prowess. And that's really where most of the stats come from for the Wood Elves. or for the High Elves, sorry. Regardless, my Greatswords are plowing in now. They should be able to trade fairly effectively with the White Lines of Crace, especially now in their veteran up state here. And they are backed up by the Grey Wizard, by Boris himself, though obviously Boris is not doing that much debuffing. And then we'll have some fire support from the rest of my army. Over here you can see the Greatswords. Some have gotten into the back line, into the Cookie Jar, going after the Eagle Claw Bolt Thrower. You can see my fires going in on the Lothern Seaguard, just trying to whittle them down a little bit, lay the smack down on them. And you can see with the Enfeebling Foe, my Greatswords are able to hack and slash their way through this unit of White Lines of Grace over here, even as my gunfire is smushing this Lothern Seaguard. Unfortunately, my Royal Sacrifice do get caught with their pants down here by the Dragon Princes. My opponent does cast a Fiery Convocation here, going to do a little bit of damage or actually a lot of damage to Sterling's Revenge, but nonetheless, Dragon Princes here definitely letting the smack down the Royal Sacrifice because they did get their charge off and the Royal Sacrifice did not. A Flock of Doom is going down on my troops here. I think a bit pointless given that it's only one unit in the AoE. But we are trying to break the Dragon Princes here, do a little bit of damage. The Royal Sacrifice, though, are getting a very bad trade. And you can see I'm dropping another Binaural Pendulum here on the Lothern Seaguard, just trying to hit him and do as much damage as I can. Obviously, Teclis has a lot of magic, but if you can get rid of some of it, it's a good trade there. Royal Sacrifice do start routing here, and unfortunately that's bad for me because it means I can't chase the Dragon Princes off the field. In the meantime, the White Lines of Crace still kind of causing me trouble. They're pressuring my shooting line. You can see my Greatswords have kind of broken the front line, but I'm not quite on top of pushing them right through because I'm trying to micro my shooting away and escape. Definitely a huge mistake there from my part. You can see the Greatswords here being shot in the back by the Lothern Seaguard. Once again, a bit of a problem. Greatswords are very tanky against this sort of shooting, and they will obviously, especially with the Captain's help here, they will trash the White Lines, but nonetheless, they're taking a huge amount of hurt here. One of the biggest problems here is that I simply don't have those debuffs on Boris Todbringer. Normally, when you have those debuffs, he's very, very potent, but here with no debuffs, Boris is kind of mediocre. He doesn't. He's obviously not going to be able to regen. He's obviously not able to nuke down my enemy's melee attacks. So these fights are not going anywhere near as favorably as they should. Over here, you can see the Greatswords are kind of winning. They're actually beating down the White Lines of Grace, but they're not going to get charged into by the Dragon Princes, which is definitely a little bit of a problem. You can see all the Lothern Seaguard coming in, peppering me down, and I don't really have the speed to run them down. I don't have any units that can actually chase them. Sterling's Revenge is actually still fairly high on models, just low on HP. You can see the White Lines of Grace here are being routed off by Boris, and I'm going to stick Boris on him just to chase him off the field because they still do have 31 models, which makes them very, very dangerous. Unfortunately, my Greatswords over here have gotten run down, I think slaughtered to a man by the Vengeful Dragon Princes. You can see they're down to 3 models, so yeah, they shattered. Over here, the Empire Captain is holding his own against the Lothern Seaguard, and he will most likely do just fine, stuck in the middle of them, because obviously these guys are intended against large, and despite their pretty high melee defense, even without the benefit of martial prowess, they will get eventually chopped down by the Empire Captain. Over here, you can see the Dragon Princes are getting mown down by a bunch of angry Sterling's Revenge, which is really kind of well kitted out to deal with these guys. Cause a bit of damage there, down to 241 HP, definitely in a bit of a pickle. Grey Wizard and the Greatswords are trying to pursue these annoying Lothern Seaguard. You can see these Greatswords are still at 30 models, or almost 30 models, despite being on only 666 HP. But my opponent is getting some nasty volleys here into my Grey Wizard, and you can see a Fire Convocation does go down, and is going to roast some of my Greatswords once again, causing me a bunch of pain. There are also several White Lines of Grace still. I do get a nice cast of Enfeebling Foe on these guys, and that will allow my Greatswords hopefully to just out-trade them pretty decisively and shred through them very, very quickly. Fortunately, only one unit of Greatswords here was in the charge path, so only one unit of Greatswords I do believe absorbed my opponent's charge bonus, and the White Lines do have a very good charge bonus of 22, whereas Greatswords actually only have 18, so on the charge, White Lines do definitely have the benefit there. Over here, the Captain is still shredding the Lothern Seaguard. Unfortunately, I still have Boris chasing the White Lines of Grace. The main reason, and obviously these guys have not shattered, they're simply routed, and I want to get them off the field because they're just so very powerful. Over here, you can see the Silver Bullets shredding through the Lothern Seaguard. The Sterling's Revenge is trying to pressure the White Lines over here, and you can see things are definitely going a little south. My Grey Wizard is routed, my Greatswords are routing, they're definitely falling apart. The only thing really is keeping me in is this one unit of Greatswords, and this one crippled unit of Greatswords, and these fairly healthy by the standards of this game unit of Greatswords, which is slowly but surely dicing Teclis up. Unfortunately for me, the Dragon Princes actually come back and save the Lothern Seaguard here. They are 4 models and 132 HP, and still managed to get rid of my Empire Captain there. And you can see the White Lines of Grace still being pressured off, so definitely a big pickle for a bit of a pickle there for me. The Silver Bullets here wailing on the White Lines of Grace, who do have that 30% missile resistance, which is making them very, very tanky. But my Greatswords are slowly but surely just winning out here. Teclis is not a good melee combatant, and these White Lines are so badly beat up that even without support, the Greatswords will be able to dice them up over time. One of the big benefits is that despite having low model count, High Elves don't actually have much higher HP per model than other faction like Empire, so you definitely have a big HP edge there. Boris finally do give up on chasing these White Lines of Grace, realizing that I'm simply not going to be able to do it right now, and do turn them around to try to deal with the Dragon Princes over here. You can see the Dragon Princes are down to 4 models, and what I'm simply trying to do at this point is knock them off the field, and you can see the silver bullets there, killing them to a man. This is definitely one of the more annoying things to do when you're playing against the High Elves, is the fact that the Dragon Princes are just so very, very potent. Dragon Princes will basically never rout. I can't think of a game where I've had Dragon Princes actually rout off. Here I do charge Boris straight into these white lines of crates. Obviously he does have that slight debuff from the Crush the Weak, but I really don't want him staying in the fight because obviously he's being debuffed, and so I do turn him away and start running. You can see the silver bullets here teeing off on the ammo list Lothan Seaguard. Stolen Revenge routing off the field. You can see the Royal Dwarf Griffites have actually made a comeback here on 5 models, but they're very badly. The last time they got zoned away by this Tyrnok Chariot, but now they're coming back with a vengeance. You can see my silver bullets here setting up to open fire on the Tyrnok Chariot, and they immediately blow one up and doing some great work there. Unfortunately, all my great swords at this point are very, very badly mauled. You can see 21 models there, 21 models there, 28. And 9. So definitely that veterancy is keeping these guys in the field long after they should have routed. You can see with the help of a little bit of terror here from the Demigryphs, and obviously with the charge bonus kicking in, these guys will become a little harder to route. And you can see the Demigryphs do get in there, and the Lothar Seaguard does kind of route, which is definitely very beneficial. Tyrnok Chariot has actually not routed. It's still running around and on some HP. But my opponent's army at this point is definitely very, very badly weakened. You can see just a handful of white lines there. A handful of white lines here and there. My opponent's army is definitely very scattered at this point. It's very it's kind of my little blob of troops trying to chase everything off the field and get rid of it. Trying to shatter units and just kind of pick everything off. Over here, Boris is still sitting at 1100 HP, which is definitely beneficial at this stage of the game where everything is kind of hanging by a thread. The Greatswords should trade very effectively against the Lothar Seaguard, and you can see the silver bullets here just wailing on the Tyrnok Chariot. Boris does push through the Lothar Seaguard. The Greatswords do plow in as well, and they do start dicing up these Lothar Seaguard fairly effectively, despite the fact that obviously there's only 9 of them at this point. But as you can see, doing very well as per themselves, especially with the backing of Boris Todbringer, and they will be able to collapse these guys rather effectively, especially as the Grey Wizard is now approaching. Though at this point I really have no reserves of magic left. Grey Wizard is basically the Grey Wizard has just basically been used as a melee character for the past like several minutes. So regardless, the end result was a Pyrrhic victory. Definitely in very large part my fault. It should have been, I think, much more decisive had I executed my plan or my strategy more effectively. Obviously, if I'd actually kitted Boris out with his items, that would have been a huge benefit. If I'd rather than bring Royal Elf Griffites, obviously I would have had to do that. But the other problem was that my Royal Elf Griffites did not get their charge off on the Dragon Princes, which meant that the trade, rather than being pretty decisively in the favor of the Griffites, was very much in favor of the Dragon Princes. Another slight mistake I did make was that I used that right before my opponent went in with his Dragon Princes, I actually used the Grey Wizard's debuff on the white lines of Grace. On a unit of them. And had I saved that and hit the Dragon Princes with instead, I would have been able to stabilize that brawl a little more effectively. Regardless, this is a very effective composition, as I mentioned before. I think that this is, if you're struggling against High Elves as Empire, I think this is definitely a composition you should try out. And obviously, my recommended change is you don't run the Royal Elf Griffites, right? Normal Demigryphs with Halberds. You don't need anything better than that to deal with High Elf cavalry anyway. If they bring a lot of cavalry, then it might be a little bit of a problem, but generally High Elves will not. And if they do bring more cavalry, well, you can always counter them a little bit with silver bullets, with Sterling's Revenge, and with just using your greatswords. Obviously, the high-end cavalry, if they decide to bring a lot of Dragon Princes, is going to be very expensive, and their lower-end cav is just not that good. And plus, you do have Boris on a horse, and obviously you should invest in Boris's upgrades. For my opponent, this is definitely, I don't think, a bad build. White lines generally trade pretty effectively. Definitely you want to be more. I think one of the problems was that he didn't notice the Penetrable Pendulum, which allowed some of the fights to go much more in my favor than they should have. Penetrable Pendulums are very useful at just nuking down high elf HP pools to make them lose their martial prowess. The other thing is, I think there was a little bit too much shooting. I think that against Empire, you don't necessarily need this much shooting, and definitely not this quality. You definitely don't need this many Lothar Seaguard. Definitely the Tyrnok Chariot, for example, I think was a little wasted. I think that's 1,000 points that could have gone towards something else. Perhaps dropping some of the abilities on tech lists and dropping the Tyrnok Chariot would have given you enough points for, say, Swordmasters of Hoeth, or even an extra cow. Even if it was Silver Helms, actually, that would have been, I think, a better choice. In this situation. Regardless, great game to my opponent, 1-2-3 here. I did have a lot of fun. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. As I said, today I'm going to be doing a bit of a video dump and trying to put up as many videos, or several of the videos I've done, or several of the videos I kind of recorded and didn't have time to put up, and hope you guys enjoy. And yeah, so definitely stay tuned. As I said before, if you're looking forward for more additional content, be sure to subscribe. I will be doing a whole bunch of Tretch, Craven Tail, and Tomb Kings videos once as they hit, and in the upcoming few weeks. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.